I want to talk about a couple things. We'll get to. I want to give you 5 guys who I think may start and make an impact. Excuse me, and make an impact next year, along with who won National Signing Day. Right? Again, totally different vibe. It's not what it used to be. Really, the real National Signing Day is early in the fall. Right? So, it is what it is. But let's talk about this. I want to give you a couple guys who I think are going to make an impact year one, right? As freshmen, potentially as freshmen, right? So without further ado, let's dive right into it. Okay. First one. All right. This one hits home, right? I had to throw a Florida Gator up there, but not just because he's a Gator, because I really think CJ Brono could do some damage, right? He's going into a secondary where we lost some cats. We lost like 3 starters. So he has the opportunity to play right away. Florida's defense always been good when we've had good DBs. This is a lengthy DB coming in at 6'1", 180. He was recruited by Billy, stayed for John Summerall, right? And this is a kid who is instinctive, who is a great zone corner, right? He could cover ground quick. Also a track athlete. I like CJ Brono, cornerback for Florida, already on campus, right? Already on campus. I'm interested to see how he looks in orange and blue, right? And how he's going to really dive into that secondary. Because remember, Kamani McLean got hurt. McLean got hurt last year versus Miami. He would be out for a little bit, or maybe he's back in the mix. We'll see, obviously, coming in the spring. But CJ Brono, right? Another name I want to give you to keep an eye out for, right? I got to go with the big ugly, right? West Virginia got Kevin Brown. If you don't know who Kevin Brown is, right, look him up. He was a former Penn State commit. Obviously, when James Franklin was there, when James Franklin lost, he opened it back up. He commits to West Virginia. His dad used to play for West Virginia, and now they both have something in common. Rich Rodriguez as the head coach, because his dad played under Rich Rod. He's going to play under Rich Rod. This guy is no joke, right? And we could talk about O-lineman. We could talk about Jackson Cantwell going to Miami, right? I don't think he'll crack the starting lineup, right? And I wanted to really dive into guys who may start right away. We could talk about Emmanuel. I'm gonna mess up his name, but it's Emmanuel Acho. I don't know. He's going to Oregon. I apologize for messing up your name. If it goes viral, you could thank me later. But Kevin Brown is a dude. Kevin Brown moves people, right? And throws them out the club for a living, right? As a hobby, right? You only got to pay him overtime. Kevin Brown's gonna be a stud. I think he comes in. He's 6'5", 280. Will he play left tackle right away? I don't know. Honestly, he might move on the interior at first, right? Rich Rod likes his mobility, between the middle 3, guard, center, guard, especially in that zone read offense. So I could see Kevin Brown fitting into that scheme perfectly. And don't be surprised if you see his name pop up, early, in regards to people that are playing. All right. Another name I want to give you, right? Sorry, Chris, if you don't like this one, but we got to go to Jared Curtis, right? There's a reason he left Georgia. There's a reason he committed to Vandy, right? To be not only just to be the successor of Diego Pavia, but Jared Curtis wants to play. Jared Curtis is staying close to home. Jared Curtis, they feel like he can make an impact from the beginning. Now, this is going to be the true test to how that Vandy system is run, how that Vandy program is built, right? Because was it just Diego Pavia, or is there a solid foundation in place for Vandy to have sustained success, right? And is the foundation in place safe enough to bring in a 5-star quarterback who, again, probably going to play right away, right? Going to be in the SEC, so it's going to be tough, right? But what's the formula? What's that going to look like for Jared Curtis? Again, I think he plays right away. I don't think they got him to flip to possibly sit for a year, knowing that they could have got maybe another quarterback in the portal, just like they did with Pavia. So it's going to be interesting to see, how all that pans out. So Jared Curtis leaving the Dogs, right? Leaving the Dogs. Another QB leaves the Dogs. Sorry, Chris. Another QB leaves the Dogs, and we'll see what the success of that decision, has done and will continue to do and pan out for Jared Curtis. But I think that's another quarterback, because we won't see Keeson. So Keeson Henderson, quarterback that went to Houston, I don't think we'll see him right away. I do think we will see Jared Curtis right away. All right, next up. This is a dangerous one. Chris Henry Jr. Obviously, we know his dad. Rest in peace, his soul. Played at West Virginia. He was a duo for the Cincinnati Bengals with Chad Johnson. Chris Henry Jr. is committed and stayed committed despite what's his name going to South Florida. Brian Hartline stayed, right? And now we're looking at an Ohio State team that was not only young last year, but now they're experienced. Now they got experienced weapons, right? You already got Julian Saint, you already got Jeremiah Smith, right? Both those guys probably gone after next season, right? Is this guy the icing on the cake? Is he the solution to removing double teams, removing that top safety from Jeremiah Smith, and what that's going to look like? Listen, we'll dive into Ohio State a little bit later, right? We'll dive into it later. But how is Ryan Day going to utilize Chris Henry Jr., who is following the lines, a long line of guys, receivers, top dogs that have came in and performed early, right? Jackson Smith and Jigma, Marvin Harrison Jr., all right, Garrett Wilson, all right, Carnell Tate, right? Jeremiah Smith. Chris Henry Jr. is next. I'm excited. He's going to play. Barring an injury, he's going to play. He's got some dog in him. I like him a lot. The last person I want to go to, right? Luke Wafle, right? And you're probably wondering, if you're not tapped into recruiting, or if you're not tapped into New Jersey recruiting, you probably don't know who Luke Waffle, I'm sorry if I messed up his name, is. But this guy, DN from New Jersey, the Hun School, it's a prep school down in South Jersey. Went to the Army All-American game, not only dominated, was the MVP of that game. This is USC's biggest recruit from New Jersey since Brian Cushing. And I remember watching Brian Cushing in high school, right? And if you're watching this, Brian Cushing went to USC, played under Pete Carroll, played next to Clay Matthews, Ray Mataluga. I go on and on. Keith Rivers, Taylor Mays, like stack team. Went on first round, get drafted by the Houston Texans. This dude is an animal. Length, polish, right? He knows how to get to the quarterback, right? And it's something USC needs, right? They need a pass rush, right? He'll add depth. He'll get some playing time for sure, right? But he's only going to add depth to that pass rush. And I tell you what, Gary Peterson is going to love this kid, right? New defensive coordinator, former head coach of TCU, did some time in Texas, right? He's going to love this guy. And I'm excited to not only just watch a Jersey guy perform on the West Coast, but to see how he performs in the Big Ten, right? Because, again, he's going to get his opportunity. And I'm excited to see how that pans out. So, to recap, guys who I think freshmen sign can make an impact from day one, right? CJ Bruno, University of Florida. Kevin Brown, offensive lineman, West Virginia. All right, Jared Curtis. Sorry, Chris. Vanderbilt. That's going to be weird to say for a while, right? Chris Henry Jr., right? Ohio State. And Luke Wafle. Defensive end, going out west, back to Cali, to USC. And that leads me to this point. Trojans #1 recruiting class, right? Trojans #1 recruiting class. 2 5-stars, 24 stars, 13 3-stars. Now, what does Lincoln Riley do with this talent? Because the biggest thing now is, yeah, you can recruit talent, but how are you going to develop? How are you going to retain? How are you going to develop them? How are you going to retain them? Because otherwise they're gone. You can having the top class so many times is great to have, but if you can't keep on to the guys, you could go from the top class to a below 500 team real quick. You know, we've already had multiple teams, right? Arkansas, Colorado, Michigan State lose like 40 kids through the portal. It can happen to anyone, right? But shout out to USC, right? They are the top dogs, right? They are bringing in some guys, and I'm interested to see how it pans out. Let's get to the chat real quick. Sean, yes, Cushing was a dog. Crazy thing is about Cushing, during that time in Jersey, I'll give you a quick story. During that time in New Jersey, Don Bosco Prep, if you ever heard of them, ran New Jersey, right? #1 high school, Northeast, East Coast, Jersey. They were big before high school really started getting into this international play, right? Brian Cushing went to a school called Bergen Catholic. He was the reason Bergen Catholic beat Don Bosco in the state championship, right? And I remember that game vividly, running back and linebacker, right? I remember that game vividly. I remember watching that, and it's like Christian he's different. He is different, and we're talking about. I don't want to dive too much into it because there's a lot of talent on that field, but some guys that did play in the league, and he dominated all of them. He was literally a college player against 17, 16-year-olds. Christian was a dog, right? Yeah, you're right. Arkansas, they probably needed to lose 40 players, right? They needed a reboot with a lot of other teams, right? Michigan State needs a reboot, right? It's interesting. I'll be interested to see what Pat Fitzgerald does with that team, right? Colorado, they always have a reboot, right? Prime lives in the portal, right? Prime lives in the portal. So, we'll see. I would say NIL and the portal have done. It's given us a lot of like unknown. It's given us a lot of like what's wrong with college football talk. But the cool thing about the portal is it's given us Indiana, right? It's given us, these schools that are coming out of nowhere, SMU, right? It's given us, I don't want to say Arizona State, right? It's given us Texas Tech, right? The portal is only adding to the craziness of college football, and I'm here for it. I love it. It has its issues. I'm not gonna deny it, but it's wild. It's wild for sure. All right.